Good morning. So as they mentioned, my name's Donna. I'm from Jim's Bookkeeping, local franchisee. Haven't done what you guys are all looking like you want to do, which is grow and employ staff, things like that. So I give you credit for doing that. It's quite a step in your business. What I'm going to present to you today is some of the bookkeeping side of what you might need to know in order to hire staff. Lots of questions. I see lots of people in their Jim's journey come and get help after they've already done something. It's not always the best way, and it's also always a catch-up. So bit of a trap. So I'm hoping that if I can give you some advice today that doesn't answer all your questions, but gets you to think about what's going to be best for you and how you're going to best tackle this next step in your journey. Are you in?
Oh, I've got it open so you can drive it.
Okay.
Yeah.
Do we have a button to drive it with, or?
Clicker.
Yeah, clicker.
Bring it. I'll go grab it.
Thank you. Until he gets the clicker, so obviously this has just been created for this specific day, so build your business. So I generally present, so I'm not sure if I've met anyone before, but I present at the induction training, and that's about sort of starting off. So I've come in with a different vision today. It's expecting that you're all got a strong operating business if you've decided this is your next step in your journey. All right, I've already said that. All right, so there's three main types of employees. And does anyone want to guess what the three different types of employees that you might look at are?
Casual.
Yes?
Full-time.
Yes?
Part-time,
Yes?
casual.
Yes?
Contracting.
Yes, perfect. All right. So three main points of employees. So permanent, be it part-time or full-time, all right? Casual, so in the true sense that we've always understood casual, and then contractors, subcontractors. What a lot of the Jim's bookkeepers have done in contracting is they've actually sourced out the new franchisees coming through and actually contracted out to them. Really safe way of contracting in our environment. No risk of them taking our clients away, and it helps grow their business, gives them confidence as they learn their trade and come through. So really good opportunity. There you go. Thank you very much. All right. Some things about permanent employees, and please stop me if I'm going too quick, ask questions if you want, although I will be here later on to answer any questions and through the break as well. So any personal questions you don't want to discuss in an open forum, I'm happy to answer through the breaks. So a permanent employee, be it part-time or full-time, they have a set amount of contracted hours. So you are, as an employer, you are obligated to give them that every week. So if you put someone on full time, you're going to pay them for 38 or 40 hours a week. Whether they work it, you've got to pay that. They've got a contract to say that they're entitled to earn that every week. And if it's part-time, whether it's 16, 20, 25 hours, that's what you've agreed to pay them every week.
Sorry.
You're right.
So the number of hours gets discussed prior to, so it could be anything. It doesn't have to be 40 or...
No. So when you're negotiating or offering the contract to a person, they might say, well, look, I can only work 6 hours. I have kids I have to pick up from school. I can work 6 hours a day.
And they still become a permanent part-time employee.
Yes, correct. That's a permanent employee. So that's when you look at the award, they get the lesser amount per hour.
Yep.
But, as I've said there, they're going to get all the leave. They're going to get annual leave on those hours, and they're going to get sick leave on those hours. All right?
And does it have to be the same day, for example, every week?
Not necessarily. You can negotiate that with the employee. Ideally, the same day, and the example being that if they call in sick on a Wednesday, you can't then say, well, actually, Wednesday's not your day, so I'm not going to pay you sick pay today. So they have to have some sort of set roster. They can have a roster that changes over, what division are you in? Dog wash. So you might roster a month in advance and they know what days, but if they then call in sick for one of them days, that's their sick day, you have to pay that. They don't have to make the hours up on another day to catch up with your dogs.
Okay.
Does that make sort of answer your question? Yeah, so the thing you can see with here is there's a big obligation to take this person on in your business. Suddenly you're going to have to pay them whether they come or not, pay them whether you got work or not. I don't want to say that we go through another lockdown or any of that sort of thing ever again, but potentially pay them through that, things like that. So keep in mind that there's an obligation of taking on that employee, all right? They're covered by work cover, they've got super, all your employees are going to get super now, be casual, part-time, full-time, doesn't matter if they work 1 hour, they're going to get superannuation on it, all right? As of the 1st of July, that all changed, and no matter, because there used to be you had to earn $450 for the month, then you could get super. If you're over 18, you get in super, all right? Work cover, as an employee, if you're a sole trader, you don't have to have work cover for yourself, but if you're going to take on an employee, you have to have it for them, all right? And depending on what division you're in, and how much you're paying, what the sort of the size of your wage, that's how much your work cover is going to cost you. So you imagine work cover for someone who is cleaning gutters on a roof is going to be more expensive than somebody who's mowing lawns on the ground. Work cover for a bookkeeper, apart from we get sore backs from sitting all the time, is a low risk, all right? And then it's multiplied out by how much they're earning for the year. So some of you, like work cover might not necessarily be a huge debt, so don't try and avoid it. You're better off, well, you're legally required to have it, but don't be scared to get it. It's not always as dear as it sounds, all right? Single touch payroll is something that's come on, and what that's going to mean to you moving forward is anyone still using a sort of a paper-based bookkeeping, not computerised at all, where they're calculating their BASs, anything like that? Because what single touch payroll has done is it means everyone who has a payroll needs an electronic software to lodge it with the ATO every single payday. There are some exceptions, but nothing, we don't have Jim's shearers at the moment, so they don't have to lodge single touch payroll on payday because they work on remote properties without internet. But there's some examples of where that's not required. But for us here, if we're going to employ someone, we need an electronic bookkeeping program that's going to lodge it straight with the ATO every payday, all right? So yeah, the biggest take home from this part is you need to make sure that you can afford to, ongoing, take on this person, even for the limited amount of hours per week. And if you get someone who's going to have lots of sick leave, that's potentially going to cost your business. And I'm a mum. I was a mum with a child. I worked with a child. If you're employing someone with kids, every time they've got runny noses and coughs or something at school now, they're not allowed to go to school until they're clear of COVID. So you're going to cover their sick leave. So even though legally, I don't knock people hiring someone who's got kids, obviously, because you can't discriminate, but that's an expense on your business. All right, so you need to understand that expense and making sure your business can cover that.
Isn't sick leave only 5 days a year?
It's 10 days a year, pro rata. All right, but the other thing is that once they run out of those hours, that they potentially are going to take the time off anyway, and that's not going to get your work done. So it's twofold, but yes, 10 days per year, and you'd have to check the award, but the majority of them we deal with will be 10 days. All right, so that's sort of the take home from there. Award entitlements, that pretty much is breaks, their leaves, any allowances, penalties, things like that, when overtime kicks in for each person. So, but every award is getting, got its level of complexity that you need to look into. The next one is casual. Obviously, as it explains, biggest take home there is the flexibility. So this is a good opportunity for you to potentially take on an employee. You're going to pay them more per hour, all right? So there's 25% loading on this person, but when you don't have work, you're not paying them. When they don't come in, you're not paying them, all right? They still get entitlements, they still get overtime. So a casual employee gets overtime now. They still get superannuation, they still have a work cover, but there's less risk on your business should you have a low cash flow period, low work period, that sort of thing. All right, so potentially this is an opportunity to bring on an employee and cause less risk in your business. All right. Now, this is a bit of a new one as well. No leave entitlements from the employer. Currently, the government's trialling something where they can apply to get their sick leave. Now, the trick is they have to apply now to say I'm a casual employee with no sick leave. They don't apply when the day they're sick. They have to let the government know they're a casual now, and in the future they might be sick and need leave that their employer is not going to cover. Now, what a lot of my employers are scared of is this is just the step towards them having to give sick leave to their casual staff. So I have some employers with like retail or fast food outlets, have lots of teenagers, lots of casual staff, and they're scared that that's going to come in, and if it does, that's going to be an expense on their business. But at this stage, that's offered by the government. All right. The other thing is there is a potential for this person to become permanent, and in doing that, it means that after a period of time, generally 12 months, if you've offered this person every Monday and Tuesday work for 12 months and it's regular, there's a pattern, you're obligated to offer them permanent part-time hours. All right. They are not obligated to accept it. That's a bonus. They can choose, because if in accepting it, they're going to lose 25% of their hourly rate. So a lot of people will, say, no, that doesn't suit me. I'd rather have more in my pocket, but they could potentially come on at that point. Work cover again, superannuation, exactly the same across them. And single touch payroll again. Yep.
Sorry, with the award entitlements.
Yep.
If there is a number specified that they have to get this much per hour.
Correct.
If you're paying them over award, none of the other stuff applies? Is that true?
No, incorrect. So the way an award works is you can get away with it. There's a way to do it, but the award says they have to get X amount per hour. Mm-hmm. All right. So you have to pay them a minimum of that. Yep. Then they have to get a certain amount for any overtime. They might then get allowances for travelling in their own car. They might get allowances for this. There's all the things they might get. Yep. If you can prove that you're paying them enough to cover all those things per hour, you can actually say none of that counts. But then in a contract with this person, it has to specify you do not get an allowance to drive your own car because I am paying you X amount over the award to cover that. Right. So it's you can do it. It's quite complicated. You have to make sure that if they did everything that they're entitled to, they would still be better off on your hourly rate.
And there is an award for dog groomers, like for mobile dog groomers?
Yeah, you're lucky. You're lucky. You've got like one to choose from. I've got a picture of the awards that anyone in the cleaning division and anyone in the mowing division can have a look at and see if they can figure out what they're going to pay their person.
How many hours does a casual have to work a week?
None.
Is there a certain
minimum of a shift? A minimum of a shift. Each award will have how much a minimum shift could be, generally like 3 hours.
And is there a maximum amount of hours?
Once they start to go to full-time hours, then they would be getting overtime.
Okay.
So no, not a maximum, but you'd have to offer them overtime.
The question I've got is when you said if someone was working Monday, Tuesday, after 12 months you've got to offer them a full-time or permanent position. With that, does their holiday pay then become prorated? Like instead of...
Yeah. So a part-time person gets 10 days of sick leave per year. But if so equivalent, let's say 10 days is 2 weeks. If I only work 2 days a week, I'm actually earning 2 days of sick leave and 2 days, so I get 4 days of sick leave.
And that would go for holiday pay as well?
Exactly. They get 4 weeks holiday pay, but if I'm only working 2 days per week, it works out to 8 days annual leave, because I need to get my 4 weeks off. Yeah. All right. And you generally find most people won't take that on, but legally, say in 2 or 3 years, if they went and complained to Fair Work about you, and Fair Work had found out you didn't offer it, then you might be required to pay them annual and sick leave for the 2 years where you should have but didn't.
If you offer it and the person rejects it, is there an obligation to re-offer it after?
No. Once you've offered it, and like anything, as soon as you take on staff, document everything. All right. Absolutely document everything you can when you're managing staff. Just keep a diary. It doesn't have to be anything complicated. A diary to say, did this on this day. In that case, I'd have some sort of paper or electronic thing to say, here's your offer. Generally, they won't take it because they're going to have to drop their weekly wage, and then you're covered. Don't have to offer it again. All right, at this stage, unless they change the rules. So there's some guy right at the back.
Just with obviously with your full-time employees, you just need to obviously take into account your leave loading as well when you're taking that on top of the...
Not every award has leave loading, so you need to know what award you're dealing with and if it does have leave loading, yes. So every award differs. I haven't had leave loading for I don't know, it's been a long time since I've been a full-time, I've been an employee. And it probably was 40 years ago when I got leave loading for the last time. But I do still do payrolls with leave loading. So yeah, just need to know your award and everything they're entitled to in your award.
So let's just say a casual in 12 months says no, and then 12 months later they decide, oh, well actually I'll want to. So are you legally obligated to then?
Yes. Yeah, if they come back to you after a year later, so you don't have to offer it, but if they come to you and say, I need to be permanent part-time now, you have to offer it. You have to give it to them.
How regular does it need to be?
Only has to be offered the one time.
How regular do their work hours need to be for them to be eligible for it?
Doesn't have to be any amount. It has to show a systematic, regular employment for a period over that 12 months. So even if they miss, it doesn't say they have to be every single week for the 12 months, but if Fair Work looked at their 12-month history and said this person's basically always working, apart from a week here, day there, week, looks like a permanent role now. So what the Fair Work's trying to rule out is that you're using a casual to avoid them paying sick and annual, where realistically it should have been a permanent person who is entitled to those sick and annual hours. So to give you an example, so I do a payroll for a gelati store. Not good for the diet every time I pick the timesheets up, but he doesn't have to, because he comes under and says, well, he's a seasonal workforce. So even though they might work 9 months, come the winter, he can drop it away. So he gets away with it. It's about knowing your award, But yeah, these are the things that's good to know. And if and when this happens to you, remember, reach out for help. There's lots of help, and I've got links here that I've got for you to reach out for help with. All right, because every award slightly differs, and there are just those little glitches there for you. Again, single touch payroll has to be done every single payday. So again, you need software to do that. You can't avoid it anymore.
Excuse me, Donna, will we get a copy of these?
I can make sure we get a copy out to everyone. Yes, certainly. Yeah, no problem.
Walkover, it's the same for casual and permanent employees?
What was that, sorry?
A walkover.
Work cover, yes, exactly the same. So remember in work cover, what we're going to tell, when you apply for a work cover, you basically tell them what industry you're in, what the employees are doing as a way of work, and then the next thing it says, how much is your total wage bill for the year? So if you're casual, your total wage bill might be less. The chance of risk of accident is still the same, whether they're permanent or casual, but it might be a little bit less because they're not earning as much. You might be having this downtime. You might be somebody who has, you know, a couple of months off every year and they're not working during that time. All right. So here you go. Where can you find help? Don't try and write it down. It's a website and they're long. But as I'll make sure everyone gets copies of these if you like. So business.gov.au has an awesome, that's a good idea. You can always take a photo of the page, that might help. But business.gov.au have a tool where you can step through and create a contract for your employee, even to the point where it draws down the award and it'll attach the award to the contract. It's super easy to use, and you can then present a contract like someone who's hiring people regularly. Very first time you ever use it. All right, so it's really, really helpful. Fair Work. Don't be scared off by Fair Work. That it's a tool for us as someone who does payroll and assists my clients all the time with their staffing things. Fair Work has a lot of information and it has all the awards. All right, I think the next one's so this is where it's hard when you've got, the one on the left is everything that potentially has a reference to cleaning. So if you've got a cleaning business, you want to hire someone, you have to find out which one of those is relevant to you. And for the mowers, everything on the right is where potentially your staff member might fit in. When you click into the awards, underneath it says that, you know, works in direct supervision, you know, always has supervision, you know, that sort of thing, up to works on their own. Every award sort of has something similar to that. So find the right one that sort of suits the person you're going to bring on, and then drill down to see what you can and can't do.
Is it up to you to pick an award for them?
Yes. You need to find the award that best suits the work type you're giving them. It's not hard for a dog wash. You've got one. So you guys have got it made. I did look to see the fences. Any fences here? They're quite good. They're good. Handyman, probably potential construction.
When you get a question next time, you just repeat it back into your mic.
Oh, sorry.
That's all right.
Sorry. I forgot what that one was.
That's all right. This next one.
Next one, okay. All right, so just keep in mind, lots of awards out there. Don't want to scare anyone off and say they're not going to use Fair Work because it was too hard, because those, I've picked out the two worst that I could find when I was getting this together. All right, so a lot to choose from. All right, the next thing I want to go through is some due dates. So as soon as you hire people, there's some due dates that you're going to need to know. Keep in mind they should look familiar because they're exactly the same as your BAS due dates, which makes that a very expensive day of the quarter. And that's what I find my biggest pain point with some clients when they've got transition to hiring or even just increased their workforce is suddenly their BAS has multiplied. So to give you an idea, does anyone feel comfortable telling me how much their last BAS was if they've got no employees?
Yeah, we paid $1,000.
$1,000. I like that. It's better when it's under $1,000, but $1,000. So if you're going to hire someone, their tax that you're going to withhold is going to be around $100 every payday. Every payday, you're going to have to withhold $100 from their wage and hold it till next BAS time.
We just did ours this week and we got 5,000 credit.
So someone got $5,000 credit. Unfortunately, it doesn't happen too often. I can tell from your nice, clean mowing shirt that you haven't been mowing for long. Oh, okay. Well, maybe my other clients don't have a good washer because their shirts don't look that good anymore. But yeah, so keep in mind, if you're going to have a full-time employee, generally, you're going to look at $100 of tax you're going to keep from their wage every single week. Right, so there's 13 weeks. Okay, so you know when you work for an employer, yeah, and they pay you $1,000 a week, but they keep $100 of that to give to the tax department.
Is that salary tax?
Yeah, well, yeah, it's pay-as-you-go withholdings. So when you worked for an employer, how much did you earn per week?
I'm still working. So.
Oh, okay. So you gross a certain amount, but you don't take it all home. You have a net amount that you take home.
You pay tax, yeah.
You pay tax.
Yeah.
So your employer holds that money and gives it to the ATO every 13 weeks.
Okay.
All right?
Yeah.
Yeah. So straight away, your BAS has just gone from 1,000 to 13 times 100, so now we've got a BAS of 2,300. All right, so suddenly your BAS is over doubled. All right, you can see why some people. Yeah, I haven't got. Yeah, I'll get there. So out of that, they're going to have to withhold or give them 10.5% super, so nearly about the same. So suddenly now, that's your BAS bill or your bill on the 28th of every quarter.
Sorry.
You're right.
How does it correspond to the BAS?
Why does it correspond? Because the BAS has GST paid, GST received, and then tax withheld from your employers.
Where did you get that $100 from?
I did some sums to know if you're paying a groomer $1,000 a week, you have to withhold. There's a calculator on the ATO site.
Okay, so you're assuming that they're paying $1,000 a week.
Yes, exactly.
Cool.
So that's your wage that you're paying the person every week. That's the tax you have to withhold from their wage. There's 13 weeks in a BAS, so 13 times 100 is $1,300 worth of tax you've withheld from your employee, and that's your GST, and then that's the combination of both.
Okay.
You have to pay super on that, which is 10.5% every payday, but again, it's due on the 28th of the quarter or the month after the quarter ends. All right. So there's a question. Oh, okay. So that it becomes a very expensive day.
Sorry, so the 1,300 of super doesn't go to the tax, it goes to the...
No,
to the super...
Yeah.
Whatever they...
Yeah. So that goes to super, and the rest goes to the ATO, but unfortunately it's on the same due date.
Yeah, so the number doesn't...
And that's really the purpose of that, is reiterating that this is... So when everyone went through franchisee training, Nicole would have talked about creating a bank account as a reserve and putting the money over there every week, however often you did it or don't do it. This is the time to take that advice on board if you haven't already, because on the 28th of every quarter, your bill is potentially tripled because you took on one person. All right, and that's sort of what I see a lot of franchisees end up in a lot of pain because they get to this quarter and then realise suddenly my bill's a lot dearer. And trust me, my BAS is only small. As a bookkeeper, we get to a point where we earn sort of enough, and we get to that thing, unless we grow like you guys are doing, and I haven't been brave enough to do that. So But yeah, so I understand, but if suddenly my BAS was triple, I'd be like, oh wow, okay, that's emptied the bank account. As well as all your other expenses. If you're putting on someone with their own trailer, suddenly all those other expenses double as well. If the mowers are, got extra mowers, extra brush cutters, extra everything. So it's a very expensive time suddenly. And if you've got that reserve account, so every time you run a payroll, you know exactly how much tax was withheld and exactly how much super, you can go and put it in that reserve account. So come BAS time, you've got the money there on the 28th of the month, and you can pay your super bill and you can pay your tax bill.
So say the person gets paid $1,000 a week. They will get less money because of tax.
Yep.
But this is not your tax, this is their tax.
That's their tax, but you have to hold it until 3 months.
But if it's $1,000, is it a tax only 10%? Is it tax like 30 or 45?
It depends on the wage. It depends on the wage. That wasn't an exact amount. I was just trying to keep it so that we could follow.
Could you get around this some way by using subbies?
Okay, I've got, yeah. So the question was, can you get around all that by using subbies? And it is definitely an option. And we'll move on from that. Oh, all right, before we do that, there are also some grants that you can look at. All right, so you might want to take a picture of that one. This, again, is always changing. So at the moment, the big employment grant is gone, but there is still some wage subsidies depending on who you hire. There's also some apprenticeship, and that can go a long way towards covering some of the costs of your employee's wage. But it's a moving thing. It just depends what's available at the point of time when you've decided you're going to hire someone. So what's there now, if you go in 6 months, might be different. All right. So, but certainly look around when you come to the time and see whether or not you can afford to hire someone. All right. There we go. Subcontractors. All right. So what's important about a subcontractor? Lots more flexibility. And like I mentioned before, a lot of the gym's bookkeepers, what we will do is we will talk to our franchisor and say, who's new, who needs a bit of work? I need a help at the moment. And we'll utilise another gyms, a new gyms, and sort of keeps it in the family. It gives us a safety net to know that they're working to the same standards that we've been sort of brought to do. In the bookkeeping world, there's a lot of fear about someone taking our client's office, making a relationship with our client, and then they become their bookkeeper and we're gone. So it's something that we live with, and that sort of avoids that by using our gym's counterparts. Now, subcontractors is a good one in that they give you a bill and you pay their bill, right? In a true subcontractor terms, that's it. The relationship's done. You say, look, I want you to do this job. You either say, this is how much I can pay you for it, and they say yes, no, or they say, I'll quote you to do this much. Super easy. No single touch payroll, nothing like that. All right, you don't have to have your software set up. You don't have to worry about keeping tax, anything like that. There are some things that the government or the ATO's brought in to try and counteract everyone using contractors as opposed to hiring. So just like they're doing with casual, they're trying to make it so that subcontractors isn't a way for us to hire people and avoid paying super, work cover, all the rest of it. All right, so real tricky. So yes, they've got no leave. Yes, you're not doing any of that, but they may be entitled to work cover and superannuation. All right, a really, really tricky environment.
They would have to do all their own paperwork.
Exactly. They do. They just present you with a bill, you pay it, nice and easy. So the question was, they have to do their own paperwork. Yes, as a contractor, just like you, they raise an invoice and send a bill to you. You pay it, the relationship's done. Job's done, relationship's done.
What's FSC?
Franchise. So you can potentially contact a new franchisee and ask them to do some work for you. So that if you're busy, you're really, really busy, and you need some help, even you might be going away and you need someone to help you out for the week, you might contact your franchisor and say, have you got a new dog wash around my area anywhere that will do my work for the day, the week, whatever it is? It's a good way to contract out your work, and they still have they've been trained to work to gym standards. Right. So, it's not a long-term fix, because eventually they're going to get busy enough to get their own work.
How you'll find they need walk cover or not?
Okay, I'll show you that. So the question is whether or not they need work cover. All right. So there is an ATO site there, and it is this person a contractor or an employee? All right. So you basically step through a question answer where you go yes to that, no to that. All right, and at the end of it says this potentially is an employee, or this person is potentially a contractor. So you're right.
Do you have to meet all of them?
No. But there's some key ones, but no, you don't have to meet all of them. So sorry, the question was, does the person have to meet all of those? And the answer is no, depends on which ones they tick yes to. All right. So as an employee, I can't then go, I'm going to get someone else to do that work for me. So, sorry, what was your name? Gennady. Gennady rings me, and I'm employed as a casual, rings me and says, I've got work for you tomorrow, and then I say, I might get my offsider to do it. No, as an employee, you've employed me. I can't delegate it to anyone else. I can't bring another gyms and say, can you do this? I don't want to feel like doing it tomorrow. You've got a contract with me to do that work. All right. I'm paid per hour or item. For a dog, it might be a dog. For a mow, it might be, the lawn, or a commission. So that's a paid rate. You provide me with the equipment, be whatever job I'm doing, and I just turn up and do the work. I'm not legal. I have no legal responsibility for that work. If I poison the guy's lawn, which one of my clients may have done recently, Yadrin loves to talk about the person who walks the poison over the turf. That's not my fault. I don't get sued for it. I'm not expected to replace it, anything like that. It's your business. That's up to you. All right. The business directs the way I'm to work. So the business sort of says, here's your work, there's your start time, there's your finish time, and this is your work effort. And I'm not operating independently. There's nothing to show that I'm independent from you. All right. So that's the true sense of an employee if I'm working for you. As a contractor, if you ring Jim's Dog Wash, this suburb, and say, I've got a dog wash I can't get to tomorrow, can you do it? She potentially can get one of her 6 employees to go out and service that you're contracting. Yeah. Definitely contracting the work. You're paid for the result. You're not paid the hourly rate or anything.
So you can't pay a contractor an hourly rate?
You can negotiate so the question, can you pay a contractor an hourly rate? You can say to a contractor, the job's about 2 hours. Yeah. What's your rate? And he says, I charge $50 an hour. You go, say, okay, or I'm happy to charge you $100. If it takes you a bit longer, let me know and we'll up it. You can do that, so you can work it out on an hourly rate, but you can't sort of, And again, if you did that, doesn't mean he's automatically an employee. It's just one of the many questions. As a contractor, I may provide some or all of the equipment. Maybe not all of it, but some of it. And then I become legally responsible for the work. I'm invoicing you for a job, and then I take on that responsibility for the work, all right? And I'll say, you say, I've got a dog I need washed. I'll say, okay, I can actually fit them in Thursday afternoon at 3 o'clock. Can you let them know that's when I'm coming? And I operate independent from you, and that would be that invoicing factor. Where they want to stop it is that you might schedule this person's whole week for weeks and weeks at a time, and paying them a set amount, say, okay, I agreed to pay you $1,000 a week. I'll give you a list of who you've got to do each week. They're basically an employee then. So keep in mind that calculator tool side on the ATO. And remember, every division will be different here, and every work type is different. So there's no, not one of them, if you say yes or no to, will change the outcome. It's a combination of which ones you answer. All right, so in the question of if they then become determined to be an employee, then you have to include their figures in your work cover salary, and you have to pay 10.5% super for them.
So is this website binding? So if I go on this website and I go, oh yeah, tick, 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 this person is an employee. Is that binding that they have to be an employee?
They don't have to be, they can still be a contractor, but then you have to pay super and work cover for them.
Based on the answers?
Based on the answers, yes. Based on the answers, and if you do this and it comes out with a result, I would seriously consider taking a screenshot or printing your question answers so that you've got a record of what helped you get to the decision you made.
Okay.
All right?
So if, sorry, I'm probably jumping ahead, but with paying super and work cover, it also depends just on these answers, or does it depend on the amount of time they're working?
No. So good question. So is the outcome of this whether you have to pay super or work cover, is it only the questions that this determines, or is it either they do, because there used to be a philosophy that if they worked greater than 6 months of the year for one supplier, if they worked 75% for one supplier, things like that, that's all gone. It's this tool only is what determines whether or not you pay super and work cover for them. All right, it's not a huge drama. You can still operate, you just then have to cover their super and work cover for them. All right, you can still have them invoice you. That's not a problem at all, but you're just obligated to do that.
Can the franchisee provide equipment?
Sorry, I missed that.
Can the franchisee provide equipment, like a trailer, a dog wash trailer?
Yeah, of course. Of course.
It says their workers supplies equipment.
Yeah, so if you were to contact another franchisee and they came with their gear and all their equipment, their trailer, that's fine. But even as an employee, I might have some equipment. But as a contractor, even if I still use a little bit of your equipment, you'd expect they probably use a lot more of their own. And again, it's not that one question that determines it. Yeah. And yeah, like if you're regularly using someone, then you want them to be covered by work cover and that anyway, because if something goes wrong, you want to make sure that they're covered. All right?
Sorry. So do a lot of people go down the track of employing people as a contractor and then just pay the super, pay the tax, and that's a really simple way to do that? So sorry, you're not paying tax for them. You're paying work cover and super, and that's it.
Yeah.
And it's just a really simple way to do that.
Yeah. So the question being, do a lot of people go along that line of hiring someone through this contractor process and just paying the super and the work cover? And the easy answer is it is a really safe, easy way to start off. Again, like casual, there's not a lot of expense on the business when you start off this way. And it's not something potentially that might be on the very first time you're doing it too.
So in the mowing division, for example, you could take somebody out, employ them as a contractor, but they're essentially an employee. They're doing all the things as an employee. You're providing everything for them. You're doing all that stuff for them under a contractor sort of arrangement where you pay their work cover and all that sort of stuff. It's just really easy.
Yeah.
So much easier than the first.
Yeah. So if you want to go and get someone, outside of the gyms, you find a young guy, you find a young girl who's really keen, they've got their own ABN, so they're happy to invoice you, and you just then calculate every week, how much did you pay them? Okay, so I need to put this much away for their super, and when you have your work cover insurance, you just add what they potentially would earn over a period that you're going to have them work for you and include that in your calculations. Super easy.
So if you wanted to have an arrangement where you paid them $1,000 a week, for example, you could just tell them to invoice you $1,000 every week. You pay them and obviously pay their work cover and their super on top of that. That's just how it would work. They'll just invoice you $1,000 every week.
Yep, you can certainly make any arrangement like that you like, and as soon as they then go into that, they're using all your equipment, you're scheduling it all for them, then potentially super easy, you just put it away, you don't have to worry about single touch payroll, you don't have to process payrolls, they're going to send you an invoice. Yeah.
And you would pay them, so for example, if you out of $1,000 a week, that $100 would go to super, and then $900 would go to them. Yeah.
No, so super is on top of what you pay them. So the question was, if you're paying someone $1,000 a week, hang guys, sorry. If you're paying someone $1,000 a week, whether they're an employee or they're a contractor, super is on top of that amount. So it's 1,000 plus 10.5%.
Even if they've got their own ABN, so if I'm hiring this guy here, I've got a trail, I'm going to pay you $1,000 a week, you've got your own ABN, I'm going to pay you $1,000 with your own ABN, isn't he responsible for paying his own super?
Not necessarily, no. He might be, and this is the thing, there's a few other questions. Is he a sole trader or a company? That can change it. If he's a company, more than likely he would have to be responsible for his own. But no, not necessarily just because he's got his own gear. If you're...
I'm supplying him with the gear, like the son's supplying
Yeah.
the trailer.
Yep.
And he's got his own ABN, I'm paying his ABN as opposed to paying him a direct wage as an employee, I should say. I would have thought, mate, there's your $1,000, you're on your own, you pay your own tax, you pay your own super.
No. So as a contractor, so if you're supplying all his gear, you're paying him $1,000 a week and he regularly works for you, you schedule his work, more than likely you're going to be responsible for his super and his work cover.
It doesn't matter if he's working half a week with you and half a week with someone.
Not necessarily, yeah. It doesn't necessarily matter whether he's not working your whole week.
The question I had asked the other day was, if you're employing a person and you we're paying them a percentage or whatever of the work, but or wage, and you're employing them.
Sorry guys, sorry. It's a bit
And
hard.
you're employing them, it's basically become full-time. Isn't there some rule around that if they can prove he's actually working for you all the time, full-time, he's actually an employee, not a contractor?
No, he can still be a contractor, but then he's entitled to some employee benefits being super and work cover.
Sick leave?
Sorry?
Sick leave?
No, not sick leave. He's still a contractor for that at this stage.
So he can be a complete labour hire contractor, subcontractor.
A labour hire,
Labour contractor.
yes.
Which supplies nothing but good work.
Yep, correct.
So if he has got his own ABN, sole trader, etc., so he still still gets to pay super as well? Or is it just what you're paying?
No, so if he's a sole trader and we've done the calculator and it deems that he's an employee to you and you pay his super, he's not obligated to pay any.
Okay.
All right?
But it's something different.
No, no.
Are you obligated to offer permanent?
No, they don't fall under that casual thing, no.
Sorry.
You're right.
If other franchisee is working for me for a day, and if he send me invoice, I pay him. Should I need to pay the super as well, or?
No, so there's a good question. So if another franchisee is going to work for you for a day, and I see lots and lots of people have franchisees helping them out different times, are they obligated? I think if you followed the questionnaire, no, you wouldn't, because they're not acting as an employee. They've come in as a contractor to help you out. All right, so it's not like. So if you keep in mind, the ATO is trying to avoid people hiring people without hiring them. So there was a while where people hired hired people under ways to avoid paying all these extras. I want to take on an employee, but I don't want to pay all those other expenses. I don't want them to pay annual. I don't want them to have sick leave. I don't want to have to do their tax and all that. If I do this, I can get away with that. And that's what the ATO is targeting. So if you think of that, if you're getting a franchisee to come and help you, are you doing it to avoid all the thing of hiring someone, or you've just got a big job on for the day, or you've got to have the day off and you need someone to come and help? You're not really trying to avoid doing the employment thing. It's in the true sense of a contractor.
Sorry.
You're right.
So
Ask away, because the reason is this is a real sticking point for the whole industry, that people get confused, and lots of contractors are out there not getting what they're entitled to. And they're obviously happy with what they're getting, but when something goes wrong, that's when you will find out that you've got a problem. So keep in mind, if you've got someone who's been a contractor with you for 6 or 12 months, great guy, you love having beers with him on Friday night, everything's wonderful, he's got a mortgage, he's got 6 kids, whatever, he hurts himself, or, and he can't afford to pay his mortgage, then people are going to say to him, but don't you work for the guy? Doesn't he cover you under work cover? And he says, no, I've worked with him for a year and a half, but I'm a contractor. So someone has to say to him, oh, but you were entitled to that, and suddenly then you're liable. And the work cover's going to come and audit your books and say, well, he was acting as an employee. You should have been covering all this stuff for this guy. Now suddenly you're covering his mortgage as well. And that's where you need to protect yourself. Sorry, go on.
That's all right.
So ask away, guys, don't worry.
Sounds probably like a stupid question, but so what the arrangement that sort of I explained that I've put to you before, where you pay him $1,000 a week, you just pays it.
Yep.
Yeah. So what happens if this guy randomly puts in his invoice for $2,000? What do I do there?
Well, you have to have. So the question is, I've got a contractor who's always doing the $1,000 a week, and suddenly he comes with this nice $2,000 bill. And just like anything, like where's he getting the $2,000 bill from? Like it would be like any negotiation with any supplier that you go to. So any of your suppliers, if suddenly their bill doubled, you would have a please explain conversation with them, and at that point, either your relationship's about to sever, and that's not going to be your subcontractor anymore because he's either decided he's doubling his rates, or he's trying to, do something, or he might have a reasonable explanation why it's suddenly gone up. But if then you accept it and pay it, then you probably are obligated, but then potentially he won't be back anymore.
Yeah, I guess that's sort of what I was asking. What's my obligation to pay that bill?
You could fight that out in VCAT. There's no easy answer for that. There's no easy answer to say why he suddenly doubled his... only that it's not something you would generally see. It would happen potentially very early in the relationship, and you would probably not have him working for you for long. It's highly unlikely that it would happen long term down the track. Yes, go on.
Contractors, is there any obligation how much work you give them or how long you need to keep them on?
Yep, no, so question with a contractor, is there an obligation to give them a certain amount of work or keep them on for a certain length of time? And the answer is no, which is why it is an easy or a simpler way for you guys to go as a first port of call in your hiring someone.
So you can just say, thank you very much. See you
Yep,
later.
I've got no work for another month, or dog wash, I don't know whether you particularly have a downtime, but the mowers, so you might put your say to your contractor, come back to me in September, October, you know, off you go and have a nice winter. September, October, come and call me back, and you know, if you're still looking for work, I'll bring you back on board.
And it works the other way as well. So you can say,
Of course,
see you later.
same. So yeah, they can say to you, I found some better work, higher paying, things like that. So it is certainly an option for you that they can say goodbye to you as well. All right, I think I might be coming towards the end. We've created an app, or we've launched onto this app as a team app, right? And it's got a lot of interesting stuff to read, as well as due dates and things that you can access free of charge to help you understand what's required of you as your business is progressing. So we created this for the new franchisees, but and it's really great for them. You guys are about to progress into a part of your business where the liabilities get higher, the risk gets more, the money numbers or zeros on the numbers get higher. So really important that you sort of understand what your obligations are, and there's lots of interesting reads there. And that's the QR code to find it. So if you take a photo of that, you can download it. And once you download it, comes up as Stack, and type in Jim's Bookkeeping, all in capital with an apostrophe, and it will take you through a nice bedtime reading. If you have trouble sleeping, it will put you to sleep, but there's lots of interesting stuff in there for you to refer to.
But you're sending us the slide pack, yeah?
I can send you the slide. I can send it to Steph probably, and she maybe can access everybody a copy. Thank you, Steph. All right, so really good app to read. You might pick up one or two hints, but potentially it'll help you understand what's obligated. Did you find it? I can help anyone at lunchtime if you get stuck. I've got some little leaflets, you can take it off. All right, if there's no last questions, I think are we good to go time-wise? Yep, awesome. All right, thank you very much for having me, and I'll be around to answer any more.